502, please welcome the Musicians Roundtable.
Thank you guys for showing up, and thanks for those who are on Facebook for tuning in. We've got the live stream going. Thank you to 502 Bar for having us out. My name is Mario Zamron. I am the host of 210 Local Media Podcast. You can pretty much Google that, and the whole page, yeah, that's us. So like everything, share everything. It would be awesome if you did. Pretty much, I start off every episode exactly the same way as far as interviews go, and these guys are old hat at that. We start off with intros, and we've got hopefully a third speaker who's going to be making it here momentarily. But we'll start with Patrick, and we'll move in. Maybe the third one will be here when we get to him. So, Patrick, who are you, and what do you do?
My name is Patrick Farrell. I play in a project called Built for the Future. It's a progressive rock, probably the only progressive rock act in all of San Antonio. A progressive rock duo in the studio, and then we're forming a live band to take the album out. So we're headed out soon.
Very awesome, very awesome. And next?
Hi, my name is Daniel Magallanes, also known as D-Mags to a lot of folks around the area. Playing drums in a band called Blackbird Sing. We just recently released this past Cinco de Mayo, our latest release called Cinco. Actually, we're a Americana, Texicana band here from San Antonio.
All right. Our third speaker isn't here yet, but I'll let him introduce himself when he does get here. First, I want to start off with how does it work being a local band in San Antonio? Like, what were the difficulties? What was easy? What was good? What was the good, bad, and the ugly? Let's do it that way.
Well, we started, I play with Kenny Bissett, who was in a band called Felt None back in the 80s. I was in a band called Sage, and so that was our primary heyday playing live, and we've turned into a studio act since then and just teamed up. But, in the day, it was pretty active. St. Mary Street was a pretty fun place to be. Joseph's Food Liner used to be the venue. And so now we're getting back out into the live scene. So the few times we've backed up a couple of other artists, a friend of ours, it seems, tough to get a crowd. It seems tough.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Daniel, how about your experience with the local scene?
Local scene, coming from the guys in the group that we are currently, Blackbird Sing, come from a punk rock background and rock and roll background, I guess, where some of our lead singer used to be in a band called Die Boy, a local punk rock outfit, poppy punk kind of deal back in the early 90s, actually started out then. I have a previous project called Maddox 13, who is in a southern rock kind of punk area. And coming up from that, kind of turning around our whole sound, those projects we get together when we can, I guess. We've been lucky that kind of like a lot of the fan base that was built with those bands back in that time, they kind of grew up with us. So they kind of followed us to our new project. Coming together as this project that we are with now, part of it, we're family kind of oriented. My brother is also in the band. Again, the lead singer is my cousin. The other two guys in the band we've known for 15, 20 years, so they're basically family. Yeah, and we've been able to grow from the, I guess, ashes of our older bands. We've been able to grow and bring the fan base together for that. That part, I'd say, as far as us, the good part of that is that we almost had a ready-made crowd to go with us.
And that's an interesting crossover too. To go from the punk scene to Texicana, that's a really unique kind of a crossover, and yet you guys were able to accomplish it and keep the majority of your fans interested, and they moved with you. They jumped genres with you, essentially.
And we in that respect, just sheer, some of it luck, some of it just us being completely humbled by that fact that they wanted to go with what we were doing, and we decided to do these other projects and put this together. It kind of just happened for us. We weren't specifically looking to start this band. My cousin who played in his other band, they finished playing. And my project, respectively, we started playing less and less, and kind of started moving into other areas of expertise in a way, because we all grew up with, a wide range of music, and we kind of just decided to almost start a project that was like our parents' our parents' music, and
something homage to them in a way.
In a way, for us to do that, we felt really lucky that, and just incredibly humbled by the fact that they wanted to hear more of the new project, and we were totally stoked that they are still with us.
Absolutely, and I think that goes to y'all's success as well. I mean, we've talked about success stories with Blackbird Sing. As far as I know, the local scene hasn't been tapped into necessarily, but overseas, you've got something going on right now.
Yeah, the kind of music we do, for one, I had no intention on really doing anything live when I put the album together. We released an album called Chasing Light, and the kind of music we do, I guess, isn't the most connected to the Texas scene, but it's the kind of music we love to do. So we released the album, and I just took a shot and had some connections, made some good friends through forums and progressive rock sites, and being friends with other artists that are out there. And they allowed us some momentum, and the album really took off all over the world, actually. And so we kind of started there, which is kind of a funny thing to say, but we started all over the world. I'm proud to say we're pirated in Russia. You know, me and Kenny were excited. We were torrented in our first day, which was, we felt
Very
good
nice.
about that. But we've got invites and people interested in having us play in England and in Europe, kind of a small European tour, but how feasible that is, who knows? We just know that it's nice to be asked. But we kind of started that way, and now we're trying to focus on having a connection locally now,
right.
Which is because of the genre. It'll be interesting. It's alternative. I say progressive rock, but
it's kind of crossover prog,
yeah, it's
right?
like Rush, Tears for Fears, The Fix, that kind of stuff. So. Stuff we grew up with, not my parents.
Stuff that
my parents were like listening to Sticks and Stones, banging on rocks, but it's that kind of influence. So
yeah. So now we've kind of dived into the difficulties a little bit. I mean, some more success overseas specifically, but locally the scene so far for you guys is untapped until you get that live aspect going. Once you get that going, I think one of the things is getting people to show up, which I kind of wanted to sidestep a little bit and say thank you all for showing up, those of you who are here on purpose. I know that we have 502 regulars. 502 is known for having its regulars, so we appreciate you guys being here as well. But for those who made the effort to come out, I think it starts with you guys. It starts with the audience. It starts with fans coming out and seeing shows. We talked about the difficulties in having people show up at shows, and I think that's one of the things is we have to tackle that. That's one of the gripes that we'll put on the gripe list. So kind of starting into the what's broken, because it has to be addressed, and it's something that once we address it, we can probably come up with ways to fix it. So Patrick, some of the things that you were saying, you made contacts, you made connections, that helped work overseas. I think that's something that maybe bands have an issue with locally, is getting through maybe the social media noise. Of all the bands, all the very talented bands here in San Antonio, all fighting for their spot, whether it be in the scene or whether it be in somebody's ears, listening to streaming on like Apple Music, or you're streaming on iTunes, right?
Yeah, we're on everything: Spotify, iTunes, Amazon. Yeah. I think one of the advantages we have, Kenny and I, is that we're old farts, and so our genre, I kind of liken it to being Star Trek nerds. So we go to the Star Trek convention, everybody likes what we're doing, right? So if we were competing with 18 to 25-year-old pop, or folks that are doing much more on target to contemporary stuff, I think it'd probably be tougher. But because we're kind of genre specific, we got into a kind of a club because people love that music and embrace it, and it spread all over the place. We got invited to play on an album by a band called Fractal Mirror in the Netherlands, so we guest vocaled and sent bass tracks, and we became friends with them. We're doing a project with them and another band, and a guy up in Philadelphia who's in a pretty hefty progressive rock band. Billy Sherwood, who plays bass for Yes, mixed one of our songs, and so that whole network is kind of nerdy. So we're fortunate that we're old farts and nerdy, and we're just kind of in our little corner. If we were competing with pop stars, I think I probably wouldn't be here. I'd be eating wings next door instead of here.
Yeah, I smelled those earlier. Somebody had those wings. That's what I'm going to eat afterwards. You tapped into something else with that. The idea that you have that community. And that's what we're trying to grow and foster in San Antonio. And I think one of the things that you have going for Built for the Future, for example, is that niche. You have your niche group of people that you play to. They're your fans. They're your target audience. You're not striving to be in every single person's car. You're just targeting those people. Another good example of that is your Facebook. You don't have a Facebook fan page, right? It's still just a community page.
Yeah, I get a lot of flack for that, but I just stuck to the normal group just because, for one, I started it as a communication for Kenny and I and the guitar player who guests. He's in Austin, and we, just to talk about the album. Mm-hmm. And as things grew, people would join and follow us, and now, and it's not humongous by any means. It's probably got 400 members or so, but it's all organic in my sense. It's not click oriented, and it just feels like it's just a room full of people that are interested in what we're doing. So I get advice all the time to go to the band page, but I've held out so far. Who knows?
Yeah, and it's worked, and that's the thing. And then other bands go for the fan page. They go for the Instagram, the Twitter. I know Blackbird Sing, you guys are everywhere as well. Your music is on Streamable, and you've got Facebook going, Twitter, Instagram. Is there a Snapchat for you guys yet?
There's not Snapchat yet. At least I don't think. I mean, somebody started that without my knowledge. That's cool. We have a Instagram, Twitter. We have also our blackbirdsing.com that connects all those avenues together. So they go to our .com and they can connect to everything else that we have going on.
Has that been helpful?
I think so. I think honestly for the people that we find visit our pages and go to our music, they connect through other bands sometimes by the hashtags and they if you like this band, you might like this band. Kind of happens, and that happens when it's on iTunes, when it's on Spotify, and all that, which we're a part of, and glad to have that window of opportunity, with those different avenues. Because I guess willing to say, when we know we can't reach everyone that we would like to reach, and a lot of it still in our genres is word of mouth in a lot of ways, because we came from growing up as teenagers and this we're cutting and pasting, go to Kinko's and making copies and making a flyer and we're handing those out.
Yeah,
that's where we came from. And now it's moved more to the reach that we have with all those social media outlets. It gets to maybe a person, and then hopefully that person tells 5 people, or they might show them hey, send them a link to one of our songs.
Right.
That still, in a way, is how we feel like we get more out of it, is kind of still that word of mouth. I mean, we hope it reaches this person, but it could reach more with them saying, hey, I think this band sounds, something you might like. Check it out.
Yeah.
And maybe we feel like we've been real lucky with that so far. I mean, we know that with our other bands, other projects, my other band, for that example, Maddox, we know our target at that time was, A to B. It was these within this area that was, let's say 15 to 25 was our largest demographic.
That's your niche.
We kind of knew that, because at that time that's how old we were. We were in 19 all the way through about 24. That was who we were, and then we figured the people that listened to us were around the same age and liked the same kind of music, and we tried to reach those people, and we felt like we did that. With Blackbird. I guess we feel pretty lucky that we are able to reach a much, much larger demographic, because we're in our late 30s and early 40s, all of us, have, well, myself was be an exception. Everybody is married, has kids, and families that go to the shows, that want to go to the shows. We have our little cousins, little nephews, and they even enjoy the music, and we're happy that we have 7-year-olds there at the shows, and we try to make our shows all ages at any cost, because we know that our families want to be there. And then not only that, but their families, obviously, a little 7-8-year-old is not going to go by themselves. They have to bring their parents. So we want to bring them in too to enjoy the music that we're doing. And then so we've had shows that were very, I guess, sometimes surreal when we think of what our rock shows used to be, where there was it was at. We're starting the show we're starting our set at 1 a.m. and we're playing hard and fast for 45 minutes, and then we're done. And these shows we're starting 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and we have people that are 7 years old, and we've had where somebody who's 95 years old there. The demographic is
a total shift.
It's a total shift from it, and we, I think we feel like, when we're making our music, it's obviously something that we love to do, and we would love for it to be something that somebody will connect with. And the way that we do that is really concentrating on our songwriting and everything we're putting together, the package deal. Because we, if we get offered to do things, we want to be able to either make it an event for them, as well as make it worthwhile for us. And in that respect, it still goes back to we're trying to reach this one person right here in the front, and then hopefully they'll tell. And from there, it'll grow hopefully that way, and then they'll tell them, hey, well, if you need information, look them up through this, blackbirdsing.com or whatever it is, and they'll find us. And hopefully it just grows from there.
And so, you've got that organic growth and that hope that's the idea. That's the idea for local musicians, is get people in, get butts and seats, or standing right in front. That's probably preferred than butts and seats, actually. I'm old, I sit down. But the idea is to get people in, to get them to check you out, and then they'll tell their friends. They'll spread the word. So that organic growth is important. I think that's one of the other things, kind of backtracking a little bit. The whole thing started with a post on Facebook. I know it's kind of a big backtrack, so I apologize. There was a post on Facebook that I put out. It was a meme that somebody had made that said, charge somebody some exorbitant amount of money to see a top 40 band, and ask them to pay a $10 cover at a local music venue, and they'll cry and complain, essentially. And that got a lot of response real quick. Talking about the issues, because so far we've talked about some of the positives, some of the aspects of having that built-in audience for that genre, and I think that's what you're going to end up hopefully experiencing, is that there's going to be that target audience when you come out, that they're going to be very supportive, and that genre-specific thing, you're going to have that built-in audience right off the bat. That's what I hope. With that being said, talking about the whole cover idea, I believe you had mentioned that there was a violinist that you had seen or somebody had played on stage, and it was a huge stage, massive lights, and nobody was there.
We actually, the band that Kenny and I started to put together to kind of get our engines rolling again, we decided to support Gary Davenport. He's a local singer-songwriter, been around since late 70s. He just did a mannequin show last night, kind of a reunion from his album from the early 80s. It was fantastic. And gratefully, there was like 60 people watching him, so that felt great.
That's really good.
But we backed him up. We decided to be his backing band. So, Peter, who's the keyboardist for our live setup, and Raul Garcia, who's one of the best drummers in San Antonio, and then Kenny played, and I played, and he had a violinist. Gary has his standard violinist, and Gary's brilliant songwriter, beautiful album. I thought we sounded fantastic. And we did 4 shows in 4 cities, and the average attendance was 10 people. And so, it bugged Gary, and it bugged us, because the presentation I mean, it wasn't small little dives. It was places like this. It was nice.
Yeah.
And the presentation of the music was fantastic. I thought the band was great, and I thought Gary sounded great. And it's just a shame because it's heartbreaking because he put so much work into writing, recording this wonderful album. Mm-hmm. We put energy into presenting it and had it to a level where the product was going to be something to see.
Yeah.
And the thing is, part of his frustration was he had all kinds of commitments from people saying they'll show up, and so that was one of the things. We played in New Braunfels, and beautiful stage in the Phoenix, beautiful. I mean, it was awesome, and he had all kinds of promises. Probably 30 people that he thought were going to show up, and nobody showed up. It's painful.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel that as well. Like, my company's recently started getting into promotion where we have events at venues like Jack's, for example. We're looking forward to doing some here at 502. We've had stuff at Limelight, and sometimes it's completely hit or miss. You'll have the perfect condition for everybody showing up, and you get 100 people, 200 people, and it's insane. And the next night you have a national come in from out of town that has a huge following in another city or another state, and they're playing to the other bands, and they're playing to the bar. And as a promoter, the way it works, in case people don't know or are not familiar, the way it works when you put on a show, the bar gives you the money. Say, okay, here's all the cover that was made, or here's a percentage of the bar that was made, whatever the deal was that was worked out. It's up to the promoter to decide how to break it up among the bands. One of the ways they do that is by tabbing up people that have gone into the door. I'm here for this band, or I'm here for that band. They make a mark, and that kind of lends itself to letting the promoter know who showed up for who. And it's been my experience as a promoter that sometimes the touring band doesn't get very many people. And you still have to be fair to everybody, but at the same time, everybody's put their blood, sweat, and tears, hours of preparation. They've driven across state or across country to be there, and you get to shell out $60 among 4 different bands with 5 members in each band. It can be rough. Let me take a break and welcome our other speaker as well. Eddie, you ready to come on up?
Is there a mic over here?
Yeah, there you go.
Magically appears. Nice.
Like it. Musical chairs right here.
Edward, welcome to the Roundtable, and thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate it. We had an original speaker, Jason Hari from Hydra Melody, who's extremely sick, so we hope he feels better, and we're glad to have Edward. Eddie?
Let's start over.
Yeah,
let's start all over again.
Let's start over.
The whole thing. Well, what do we burn through? 23 minutes. Let's go ahead and redo the 23. No, but I started off with who are you and what do you do? So let's get everybody here and on Facebook familiar with who you are, sir.
Okay. My name is Edward Welsh. You can probably call me Eddie. I play in a band called Rumors. I play bass. And I'm one of the founding members of Rumors.
Absolutely. And how long has Rumors been around for?
We've been around since about 2011.
Okay. So, one of the things that I remember about Rumors when you guys first came on is that it was like a storm. It was a perfect storm. You guys came on the scene and exploded right away. I remember being at one of y'all's first shows. I believe it was at Jack's.
Okay.
And outstanding performance. And there was a crowd there. There was a lot of people there for you guys.
Oh,
and I can't remember the rest of the bill. Sorry. But it was a great bill. And it lent itself to the night. What we've been kind of talking about are the pros and cons of the local scene, the triumphs, the tribulations, the good, bad, and the ugly. Coming from founding Rumors and starting that fairly recently, what were some of the hard things that you guys found as a band, either getting gigs or playing to crowds or playing to nobody showing up? Or have you experienced that?
Okay. We've experienced all of the above. I think if you don't experience any of those things, then you're not only like are you really not growing, but you're not really knowing what it truly means to be like in a band, especially when you're playing like original music.
Yeah, it's kind of like par for the course, I guess.
Yeah. I think the thing that we have to get used to is that there are no guarantees, and really you have to make the best of it, because there's going to be times where things are not going to live up to your expectations, and you have to basically play the same way that you play, whether there's going to be like 500 people in front of you, 1,000 people in front of you, or there's going to be 10 people in front of you. Which was said like earlier that chances are they're going to be telling like their friends and so on and so forth. What I noticed, I think especially when like when we play, there's always an energy from the front all the way to the back, and it has to be because you want the person like in the back to feel like, wow, even though I'm not up close here on stage, I can still feel those guys on stage.
Yeah.
And and by giving that feeling that you're connected, and giving that feeling that that you belong, that's going to spread. That'll make everybody wonder what's going on, and especially since we don't have like a lot of local media that's going to be real supportive to us. I guess we can talk about that later. But
yeah, well, that's definitely a good topic.
But just keep on rolling, and people will tell everybody, and it will build. It's just some people it takes like a while. Some people it's like really quick. But you always have to play the same way, no matter who's in front of you.
Absolutely, I think that's a great point. Daniel, you were gonna.
Oh no, that's an excellent point there. I think is that there's going to be extenuating circumstances for everyone, whether it be externally or internally. You're as a local band, you're each more than likely you have a day job. More than likely you're doing something else that you do for money, yeah. And what you do on stage is what you do for the love of it. And I think that's where you really gotta really be strong, and that's where you gotta roll those dice the way they are. There's gonna be times where you're gonna have a show set up. It might be set up for months in advance, and then the day comes and it is like like it's been lately. There's turn around, don't drown. There's just raining cats and dogs, and there's not a whole lot you can do about that. Yeah. But you can do what you can do by playing that show just as you would if it was the best of circumstances. You play say to the 5 people that if they were to show up, you play the same exact way that you would if it was 500 or 5,000. Yeah. I think we've always felt like if it's not a huge show, it's not an opportunity for us to kind of slack on anything. If anything, it's an opportunity for us to play our very, very best, because those X amount of people that are there will be the ones who are going to say, man, I caught this band, I'm glad I went out there, and you know what, I almost hydroplaned on the ride there, but I'm glad I made it safe, and I was able to see them. And now those people, if they're if they so choose to, they can buy some merch, they can buy some CDs, buy an album, take it with them, and they are there to tell those people who couldn't make it that time about hey guys, we need to check these guys out the next time we play, so we'll seek them out. And that's where, like, to that point that you made there, is that I feel like you just have to play that show if it's that show. Like, you don't look forward to any other ones. You don't look back at any ones that you might have had.
Day at a time.
You play that one show as if that's it. If that's it. I think that's how you really connect with you hope that you connect with the audiences, that they feel that you're playing to them, not playing for anything that's
it's almost getting over an ego.
It is in a lot of ways. You kind of have to, man. You kind of have to find a spot.
Ego check.
Yeah, you find yourself, and kind of getting lost in what you're doing. But in a lot of ways, you're making it so it's worth the effort that they've made to be there.
Right. And I think that's one of the things. That's actually the reason why the Morning Owls are going to be playing right after us. They played on our show at Jack's not too long ago, and there wasn't very many people in the crowd. I can't remember if it was raining. I can't remember if it was one of those turn around, don't drown situations. I don't believe so. I think it was pretty clear, but I think it was on a Thursday. So, I mean, that we can talk about as well. But when they took the stage, they interacted with the audience. They got the audience to come on stage and join them to sing and perform. They made it a cohesive thing. And not many bands do that. I've seen bands go up when there's 5 people in the crowd or they're playing to the bar, and they're just, you can tell they're just not feeling it. And those are great points that you just have to get over that and reach out and grab who you can grab and get a hold of them and get in their ears, get in their hearts. And I think we're jumping way ahead, but I think that's one of the things to do, in case of emergency, connect.
Right.
And not that you're not supposed to connect any other time, but I think that's a pretty good way to do things. And the Morning Owls did a phenomenal job at that. One of the other things I kind of wanted to mention, going back to cover price, right before you got here, we were talking about the meme that started it all about cover price. There have been shows where it's completely free and nobody shows up. There have been shows where it's $5, decent amount of people show up, or not, or it's $10. Either way, you're going to hear people possibly gripe on Facebook or Twitter like, oh, how much is the cover? $10. That's pretty steep.
Right.
And as a music lover and everything that I'm involved with, like I don't, people know me not to go crazy on Facebook about anything. I don't share extremely strong feelings about anything, but I always have to bite my tongue when I see that, because what people that are going to check out live music may or may not realize, you guys didn't start playing your instruments a week before you formed the band.
No.
Right.
No.
You guys
That's correct.
don't only, like, the stage isn't practice, right?
Right. Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, speaking from where we're at, I mean
You practice a lot.
There's a lot of practice involved. We have we're lucky where we got to a place where we were able to build a practice house. It specifically has our equipments there so that when any given time we can get together and we'll practice for a few hours, and if it's other than our normal practice day that we have scheduled for all of us. I mean, we all work around also our own entire lives for the practice for the project that we're trying to put out there on stage.
And you paid to build a room.
Right.
So money went into that. Money went into your instruments.
Oh, of course.
Money went into, time is money, so it took time to learn your instruments. Right.
Right.
To me, it's heartbreaking when people are like, "Oh, $10 cover, that's kind of steep." And then they show up for the $5 cover shows and they drink $30 worth of alcohol.
Right.
It seems semi-inequitable. I don't know. What are your thoughts as far as cover? Is there a sweet spot for how much cover should be?
Well, we don't. I mean, right now what we're shooting to do is just play in front of people. So the cover part isn't as critical to us
As
yet.
the exposure.
Yeah, we've already, as a band that we formed and played with these, because we got some pretty formidable musicians playing with us, and the first thing we shared with the group is, okay, there's no money. Just be prepared. This isn't about money. It's about.
I think that's the first condition
if you
of
love
joining
the
a band.
album, and I'm very fortunate because I wrote the whole album. Kenny wrote a few pieces on the album, and it's a collaboration between the two of us primarily. But I'm very fortunate to have this group of live musicians that are into the album, want to play it, knowing there's no money, because there really isn't anything. And if we were to get, like the Gary shows, we got a cheeseburger at the Phoenix, so that was our payment, and I ate the cheeseburger, so that was given to us.
It was a really good cheeseburger.
It was a great cheeseburger, actually.
That might be worth $10.
Right.
That was-
That's $10 of cheeseburger.
That's worth its
right
weight,
there.
definitely.
That was a good cheeseburger, but so the cover thing for us, I would trade no cover for 50 plus people listening to the music.
All right, that's fair.
That's what I would do, just because we're not in a position where we want to play that frequently. We want to do kind of, every 6 weeks or 7 weeks, that kind of stretch, and really want to do it for the sake of the music, because we're not young and trying to conquer San Antonio live scene. We just want to get out there and play because we love the album and the other albums that we're working on. So I could trade cover for participation.
Eddie, how do you feel about cover? Is there a sweet spot that Rumors has enjoyed, or is it more so up to the venue? I'm sure, probably, right?
Well, mostly, like when we're like dealing like with cover, it's mostly gonna be like based on the venue. Like obviously, like if you're gonna be playing like a high tones, you're like
$3 cover, I think.
Yeah.
$3 cover,
and that's their place. That they like to keep it that way, and that's fine. But I think that when it comes to like I think cover, the thing that you have to factor in is like how much does it take to keep the venue open. That's one of the things that really comes to mind with us. Sometimes if it has to take the charge like $10 or $12, it has to happen. And
is there a different pressure with that? Like, do you, as a band, do you feel like, oh man, they set the cover pretty high. We need to push for that, or we need to get as many people in as possible, or do you treat every show pretty much equally?
Well, I think when it comes, to like a steep cover, we do have to try to push like a little bit harder. That's mostly like our CD releases. We usually do it like that. Primarily because there's other stuff that's going to be there, like other CDs and other merch. I think like for those, I think you have to spread your shows out and put in the extra time to be able to promote.
And Rumors is pretty aggressive when it comes to promotion. You guys are all over like not aggressive in a bad way, like the creepy uncle kind of way, but like aggressive.
No, we're not that way at all. No.
In like you've got the Instagram going, you've got the Twitter going, you've got contests going, you guys had Kickstarter, I think, or an Indiegogo.
Yeah.
You guys tap into all of those different resources and your scene.
What we do as well is we also make flyers. Even I know that's kind of dinosaur as far as promoting, but actually with us we find out that still works.
Yeah.
I know
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blackbird Sing, I got to say, you guys have some of the best flyers.
We attribute that really is the luck of the job for us is that our lead singer is also he has his own graphic design company.
Right.
So we luck out. Too, we luck out with that because he designs. I mean, the stuff he designs for us is for fun, really. Yeah. And the stuff that he does for work. I mean, he's designing for huge companies and for even for local. For those maybe companies aren't local. So he has a business that that he does for that on that avenue. But when it's time for a show or what we like to really classify it as an event, in a way where we're not really into the we know not just because we're older, but I mean we know we're not going to play every week. We're not going to play maybe not even every month. Yeah. We classify what we do as more of let's make this next show the next event that we're putting on and that we hope people will go and enjoy with us. Right. We maybe play once every 2 months, and sometimes more than that, especially for getting some new music together, things like that. But we'll play events, like we've been really lucky to have played at the Fiesta Kickoff shows. We played at the Museum of Art the past 3-4 years. Yeah. Now those things, they're free events in a sense where there's not necessarily a cover, but it's just the what you pay to get into the museum, right. Which normally would on any other day of the week, you pay for the admission and you go see a free show in the back, right. And they have food, things like that. And like I said, for an event like Fiesta, I mean, people are going to usually go because they want to enjoy that part as well. When we have our normally scheduled shows, we're at a place now where there's tickets involved,
Yeah.
And sometimes that is a little bit of an added pressure because you want to be able to, get those tickets out. That you want the venue to see that you're pushing those, whether it's pre-sale or whether it's at the door.
Right.
I mean, especially with even the pre-sale that we have for a lot of our events is that we'll take a X amount of tickets, pre-sale, and we'll be pushing those out.
Right.
Along with the pre-sale tickets they have, you can go online to buy for the venue. So there's a little bit of pressure in that sense that we really want it to be worth it for not only ourselves, but especially for the venue who, has us on and gives us that time, gives us that day to put on a show that we hope will be beneficial all the way through because, part of it is they have to run their business, and I feel like what we have to do is approach what we're doing. It's incredibly fun, and we love the part where we get to be on stage and play music for anyone who listens, but it's serious fun in a way that you kind of in a way have to make it a business. And that's where our approach to it has always been where, yes, it's great to also have people go, but we would love to have a show that was, X amount of people that maybe didn't pay. We love to have those times where we can do that, where we'd love to have a venue say, hey, it's a free cover as long as they're showing up and, we're making it a great night.
Yeah.
We have been really lucky, I think, to be able to have those type of events and the kinds where we're having to sell tickets for. And if we're selling out a venue, then it's great. And that's totally something that we still feel like is kind of the luck of the draw for that particular show.
Yeah.
It happened, and that's awesome. But it's really tough to say there's a sweet spot because there's going to be times where people are like, it's $5. Are you kidding me? And then there's some like, oh yeah, I'll pay $15. Let me get 4 tickets. So it's luck of the draw, I think, sometimes. And I think what I feel like is most important about that is the concentration that we have for it is that we're not specifically looking to play every week, every month, but we're making that next show, if it is once, if it's a show in January, we know we're not going to play again until, till the end of, April.
You don't want to oversaturate
we're not gonna,
that
we're not
specific
oversaturate
venue.
it, especially as a local outfit. You in a way have to, you're not tricking anybody, but in a way you kind of want it to be where people will say, hey, you know what? Hey, they're going to be playing, next week. They're going to play next month. Let's go check them out. As opposed to, well, they're going to play again next week, so we won't worry about going today. Right. We'll go next time.
That makes sense.
Because you oversaturate in a way where they will always put it off to the next time.
Right. Yeah.
And then for that show, that's one less, butt in the seat
where you
or
take a hit
feet,
there.
feet on the floor.
And
that I think is important. I feel like it's important.
And I think the bottom line is that if you don't put like any value, into what you're doing, the people won't see you as having any value. That's kind of thing that I've learned because when you put in so much time and put effort, you put your energy, you put your passion in it. And then people, will see it. They will eventually be like, yeah, okay, hey, it's no problem to spend this much to go see you. So so really, if you do not put in that much in there, because all that pertains to value, and if you don't put in that value in there, how do you expect them to think that you have any value?
Exactly. Well, and that's something that I think every band locally kind of has to deal with, and I think that's something that definitely brings up conversations. We've got about 10 to 15 minutes left. Okay. We're going to kind of rapid fire a little bit on the last portion. Some of the other things that we had talked about in that Facebook discussion was venue location. I hear it all the time. Like, I go to Jack's because it's near me, and I hear from everybody else I know. They're like, "Oh, Jack's is pretty far for me." And I like 502 is good, Zombies is good, and Jack's for me. Those are prime locations. Get me downtown. It's gonna be rough. But if I'm there for the music, I'm gonna go see it. And there's different expectations with different venues as well. You go to Corova, you may have to pay for parking depending on where you go. Some people just don't know how the parking situation is, and they end up paying $20 if they go across the street. Do you guys think that venue location definitely plays a part, or a little part, or no part at all?
Well, I would imagine it plays a part in the local crowd and people that just kind of frequent the location.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you invite folks, and you have a crowd that's following you based on being a fan of the music, I would say probably within the city it shouldn't be too much of a hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
But we went to 4 cities with Gary, and so that created that extreme example of having to draw from each city based on the promotion rather than anyone following locally or it being in the proximity of somebody's house. So, I think for me the venues speak more towards what the folks that show up, what their expectation is. So downtown for some reason rings, party time and we need to be entertained, and it's, rather than something like this where I can see people coming here to see what the art is like, see what the music's like, a little bit more open-minded. And I'm just guessing because when I think of downtown, that's what I think. It's like tourists and people are down there partying, and if the music's not connecting in some sort of familiar way, you don't get the same reaction. So places like Jack's and here seem more conducive to original artists and people that are doing stuff that's a little bit more, from the heart, doing art.
Right.
As opposed to downtown, which I'm guessing, again, I don't know, but I'm guessing is like hit covers, hit what's popular, get people because they're partying, keep them excited so you can draw the crowds downtown. And to me, that's a whole different kind of pressure.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that brings up a good point. I mean, the venue obviously has its vibe, the things that it plays to. Venues are kind of like local musicians in that way. You're not going to hear Blackbird sing at Zombies, probably. Probably not.
Probably not.
but at the same time, we're also not opposed to anything really, because we also feel like you in a lot of ways, like I said, playing downtown too, you kind of have to be able to redirect with what you're doing, what you're putting out there, because if you're playing to a crowd that is almost ready-made in the sense that there's already going to be a lot of regulars, there's going to be a lot of tourists, if there is a part of your repertoire, I guess, what you have in your library that calls for more covers, or there's more familiar music for people that are going to be enjoying it regardless, then you sometimes you can adapt to that. If you're specifically playing someplace that is for original music, for 100% the art, then of course, and you want to put your best foot forward with your original music. And with places like this, I mean, it sounds amazing, and that is a huge thing for a lot of people because they want to be somewhere that is inviting. Especially if they're there to see the music, they're there to hear the music and tap into that art. They want to hear everything.
Yeah.
And even for those, especially those who don't discern the music very well, and if they're not musicians themselves, maybe there's not a whole lot of the mistakes that they're going to be able to tap into. But but if there's going to be times where things are going to happen. But no matter what, if it's a great venue, those people that came to see you there, it's probably going to be a place they're going to return to.
Right.
Not only that venue, but if they know that you normally play at places that are up to that level, then they're going to also follow your band to see you at those places.
Right.
I mean,
absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, a venue, of course, the location is a big deal, and I'm sure on the business side of it, they can probably tell you better that it is huge for that reason. But you also have to be able to bring the people to that location.
Right.
And that on our side is what we're trying to do. Is to bring them not only to hear our music, to follow where we're going, but also to the venues that respectively each one.
And thank you for bringing me to the next point. The next thing on the list here is the venue's sound. First of all, huge shout out to Joey Devine, the guy that runs the sound here at 502. Huge hand.
Yeah. It's always a great sound here. So.
Joey's always got it sounding awesome in here, and we were privileged to be able to throw a 210 for Toys for Tots event here a couple of years ago, and outstanding sound. And that's one of the things that I kind of wanted to highlight specifically here with the 502. The sound is amazing. Bands, I've never heard a band say the 502. I don't want to play there. They're always like, we want to get into the 502, or we've played there, we want to play there again. It's fun. We sound great there. They make us sound great. There's built-in audience. I think one of the hurdles, well, actually all of the hurdles that we've talked about so far, like, to be honest, not to placate our hosts, but here there's something special. They've got it. They've got it going on. They've got some things cornered here. They've got a lot of the solutions to some of the issues that we talked about.
Right. I'd say just piggyback on that is not only as a local artist, you get to play a place like this, 502, and it's always been great every time we've played here as well. But those of us who have the ability, or we have ties into bands that travel around more, the regional acts, larger, maybe just not local, that we would even want to help in the sense that we would be an open ear, let's say, even for a regional act. Right. They sometimes will get somebody to reach out to us. They're about to go on tour. They want to know of a really good place to play at, and they'll ask us, "Hey, if you guys we would love for you all to open up or help us out." And vice versa, and they will go play with them somewhere else, But a lot of times they'll ask local musicians where would be a good spot for them to play at. And you want to be able to have some place in your back pocket, that you can say, hey, you know what, you should reach out to the guys at 502, reach out to Sam's Burger Joint, reach out to, whatever it may be, whatever their genre is, what they're looking for, you would love to have an answer for them, because not only, of course, the local scene, we're trying to cultivate that, but it is ultimately also going to help if you have a show come through and you're helping them out by supporting them, opening up for their regional or national act, whatever it is, because their fans that they're already going to have may find you here as well for the first time. And then they are local, they live here, and then they'll come watch your band.
Absolutely.
So in a lot of ways, being able to have a venue in mind, is really helpful.
Yeah.
Really helpful.
Yeah. We get those messages like all the time about wanting to play at 502 and Limelight from bands out of town. And what's really important is, even if you're not going to be able to play with them, if you can help them, guide them, to people that do book, and also, well, hey, these guys can help you out, and these guys will probably get you possibly something better. By doing that, it helps you out a lot. Mainly because, if you are going to be playing out of town, they might get you a show. Even though you didn't
show
get,
swaps,
even if you didn't get them a show here. Just the fact that you helped them, look for other options, that gets them, in their mind, this is somebody, that we can work with, because they're not in it, they're not really in it for themselves. They want to make sure that bands that are going to be coming through are going to have the best experiences possible with San Antonio, and by doing that. They also, they're like, okay, well, you gave us this great experience. We want to give we want to give it back to you.
Yeah.
That's
a great point.
Yeah. So every little detail helps out a long way.
So far, I'm hearing community support, internal community of musicians.
Right.
I'm hearing it's got to be treated as a business. So it's not. There's a lot of moving parts to it. You kind of touched on something that I really want to go into in depth in the short amount of time we have left. Okay. Support, specifically. I want to give a shout out to some organizations locally that may or may not be well known by other musicians, but that I've been involved with or know people at or see that they're out there and they're helping. Local 782, the Local Musicians Union music project as well. And I'm going to be real brief on this, so I'm not going to give links or anything like that, but I'll put it up on Facebook afterwards. The San Antonio Local Music Guild, which is newer. San Antonio Soundgarden, which actually is kind of like, now that I've gotten to meet one of the organizers for it, realize that it's kind of what we're doing. We have a discussion about something, but they've got that extra added ability because they're reaching out to politicians. They're reaching out to the people that can make that difference. So if musicians say, we're not getting enough promotion, or we need help with this, or we need help with that, it's their responsibility to kind of connect people that can help out with that with the people that need the help. So huge shout out to them. They just started very recently. And then, of course, Do 210, primarily as a promoter. I was sitting back in the back right before the show, and I was remembering, oh man, I forgot to add this to the calendar. And the girls at Do 210, they already did it. It was already in the calendar. So bands that put their stuff out, do210.com, they are really great with their calendar. And also something else that's kind of coming up as a newer art form, podcast. For example, what we're doing here with the live cast. This is going to be broadcast on my 210localmedia.com website. It's going to be put out as a podcast on iTunes as well. Other podcasts in the scene, Owlcast by the Morning Owls. Okay. They've just recently gotten started with that. Texas Music Spotlight, who has been doing some great stuff as well. Also, we're all kind of doing the same idea or in the same vein. Vinyl Pizza, another one that's come up. They've done some local, but they focus regionally and globally as well. And then, of course, as I mentioned, 210 Local Media, what we do. Kind of expanding on the podcasting really quickly because we've only got a couple of minutes left. Because I think it's important that musicians find resources. I know we all have a limited amount of time. Our time is spent with family, friends, life in general, and so music sometimes takes a back seat until we have to shove that practice in. Or, hey, when are we practicing? Monday? No, Monday's not good for me. What about Tuesday? No, I can't do that. Next week? Yeah, let's shoot for next week. In that time that we can't do that you can't get practice done, podcasts that are out there specifically for musicians, the Marketing Musician Podcast, Ren Man Live, Music, Money, and Life, Music Business Worldwide, Musician Monster Podcast, Music Marketing Manifesto, Bands Beyond Labels, DIY Musician Podcast, and Song Exploder. There's tons. So for the musicians that are tuning in, and this is primarily a musicians roundtable, for the musicians that are tuning in, there's lots of support out there. Point is, reach out, grab that information, treat it like a business. These guys either have succeeded in one way, shape, or form or another, have gone through trials and tribulations in one way, shape, or form or another, but it's a learning process. And I think we've all kind of agreed to those major points that we made: community, support, organization, education, and treating it like a business. I think those are the keys on getting this scene thriving. I mean, it is. There's lots of stuff out here, but there needs to be more cohesiveness. And I think with all of that, and with these groups locally that are helping out with that, I think that the scene is onto something. It just needs to grow. And I'm super happy to have you guys all up here on stage with me. That's something. This is a brand new thing for us, and definitely not the last. We're already working on the next one. But real quick before we go out, where can we find each of your projects, bands, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, real quick for links? We'll start with Danny.
You can find us again on blackbirdsing.com for our, and that'll connect you with our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter. You can find us. That's probably the best place I'd say to go. You can find us also on iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify, all those avenues as well. And locally, we'll be here. I think we'll be in July, starting up again. We took a little bit of time off for my brother. One of the band members had a little baby boy, so taking some off for that, for family. And but we'll be back at it in July, somewhere downtown actually. So we're gonna see where that takes us flying down there. But yeah, that's where you can find Blackbird Sing.
All right, Patrick.
And Kenny's home address is 47th. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa.
No, Built for the Future. You can find on all the retailers online as well. Spotify, iTunes. Bandcamp is kind of our headquarters. We have a Facebook page. And we have Twitter accounts. Feel free to join the Facebook group. Follow along. We're working on our second album. We've got label interest over in Europe. So hopefully cool things will happen as we progress.
Okay. And like our website is currently like being built.
That's
so
good. That's
yeah,
good.
so,
That's
so,
promising.
So we can't necessarily plug that. But you can find Rumors without the vowels, by the way. It's RMRS. So because vowels are disgusting.
That's new.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but yeah, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Bandcamp, SoundCloud. We're also on Spotify and on Pandora, iTunes. Yeah. So everywhere and anywhere.
Even on TouchTunes now, right? At some venues that have TouchTunes.
I think All in Time is still on the TouchTunes jukeboxes. So
right.
So look for it and play it.
And I didn't get to get Rumors links and everything put up because we were expecting Jason from Hydra Melody, but I'll be throwing those links up. Keep an eye on our Facebook page, Twitter page, everything. We're going to update all on this, and then the podcast version of this. If you want to listen to it again, specifically for resources and stuff, ideas, what we were discussing, we're going to be on iTunes. So thank you guys for showing up. A big applause for you for being here, because this is part of what makes the scene. This can't exist without that, so thank you. And thank you, 502 Bar. Thank you very much, Joey.
Thank you.